And a very good evening. You're listening to KXLU Los Angeles. My name is Mark Gordon, and the program is Center Stage every Tuesday night, starting at 7 p.m. We love to talk about film. We've got two excellent films in store for you this evening. First, we're going to talk about a new documentary. It's called First Position, and we were listening to some of the music for the film. We heard the competition, it's the opening, and then preparation, part of preparation. And in studio, we're joined by Chris Hajian.
Yep.
And also on the line, in a few minutes, we'll be talking with Beth Kargman, and she is the director.
Yes.
Bess Kargman, and she's the director. Chris actually is the composer of this lovely music. And also, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about a film called Unraveled, and he's also responsible for the music of that as well. Good evening and welcome.
Happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
So this is like your third film, isn't it?
Yes, I've done a bit, but these two documentaries I'm incredibly proud of, and to have them both kind of premiere back-to-back is really special for a composer.
When you talk about being proud, why are you proud of this one? I mean, obviously, it's obvious why you're proud, but what does that mean to you, to be proud of your work?
There are some projects that are just really special because of the way they're made, and documentaries really symbolize something wonderful for a composer because it's a very pure form of collaborating with a director. You know, it's very authentic. It's not corrupted by studios or people getting involved in the creative process. It's a really pure, wonderful relationship you forge with a director of a film, and with that, I think, comes a lot of great opportunities for a composer.
Well, I was looking at your background, and you studied at the FAME High School for the Performing Arts, which was made famous by the movie Fame and then the series.
And I was there. I was a sophomore when they made Fame, and I can't say that I jumped on top of cabs and danced, but... Is your instrument of choice the piano, or? I'm a piano player, but my first instrument was trumpet, and I was actually a trumpet player for 20 years as a performance major, and then always was interested in writing, and when I got into Manhattan School of Music, I morphed into doing more composition, and then got my degree in classical composition at Manhattan School of Music.
Who were some of your, the people that inspired you, and what did you bring from those people to put into your music?
As far as composers, or film composers specifically,
yeah.
I always had this fascination with how music and visuals and film work together. But my roots, really my background's and largely responsible because of my dad was a professional trumpet player. He introduced me at an early age to jazz, bebop, big bands, Louis Armstrong, Thelonious Monk, and the entire classical literature. So I really grew up listening to jazz, Stravinsky, Bartok, Bach, Beethoven, the full range of classical music. So that was really what I related to mostly as a kid. And it's so funny because I got involved in pop music kind of later, all my friends in school were listening to Led Zeppelin and stuff, and I was like, okay, yeah, I heard it, but I'm
busting out the Bartok, man.
Right, I'm gonna go back.
You're going I want to listen to Stairway to Heaven through that Bartok vibe, babe.
Exactly, and I was saying yeah, it's cool. I'm gonna go check out the Rite of Spring. Maybe I'll listen to some, But of course, I have a love for all types of music. Anything that's good, I love.
So what constitutes being good to you? Because it's really all relative, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, that you're right. I mean, that anyone can make their own judgments for that, but I just think things that stand the test of time and things that after multiple listenings you keep discovering things in a music. I think anything that I think of as of a songwriter. If you write a song to me and it can be covered by many different artists in all different genres, that to me there's an inherently amazing song there. Mm-hmm. And I think film writing the same. I think that you can listen to a Korngold score now and it's still cool and modern. You can listen to Jerry Goldsmith's score to Chinatown, and all those things are very relevant now. Ennio Morricone is as beautiful now as it was when he wrote it in the 60s and 70s or 80s, depending on the score. So,
now tell me about the work on First Position, and what kinds of themes were you trying to create? And do you think in terms, because the film focuses on 4, 5, 6 dancers,
right?
Did you try to come up with a theme that would represent each one of these dancers musically?
Yes. I mean, not necessarily themes in the general sense of big melodies, but certainly textures, and in some case melodies. All the dancers have the common link is that they're all have this love for ballet, and these children, and when I say children, they range in age from 8 to 16, and their families are all pursuing this this competition. So what holds them together is this dedication that the families have and the love for what they do, and the stories of where they come from. But the stories are radically different. There's a girl that was adopted from Sierra Leone, Michaela, from one of the most horrific stories you could imagine. And then there's this boy Joan, who's from Colombia, and he's been living in New York City away from his parents for a year or two and misses them terribly. And so the film really, really, you really understand the lives and the dedication of what they go through. So musically with that, I did, of course, everyone was addressed in a certain way. Every of the characters had their own personality, quirkiness, but that was addressed. But again, not necessarily in a documentary. You're not always dealing with big themes, because sometimes that can hurt the narrative. Differently with feature films, when you can kind of write a little bit bigger sometimes. So I was trying to find very, very nuanced, sensitive ways to, enhance the characters in the story.
Well, it's like, you talk about a big story like the previous film, Unraveled.
Right.
That's a huge story.
It's amazing, and what the contrast with Unraveled within the film is it's a small story in the sense of it's a man under house arrest in his apartment, right? So, and that's where the entire film takes place, with the exception of some of these kind of looking back animated sequences that go back into the life of how he built his kind of legal empire. But the bigness in the scope is the fact that this guy stole $780 million and did it in the most brazen way, posing as other people, going into the conference rooms of these hedge funds, and posing as themselves and selling this. So that film, to me, musically as a composer, really represents, intimate psychological aspects, and then the huge crime and fraud and what that represents. And that's sort of what the two most obvious parts of what the score represent, or to connect those two elements.
What's the collaborative process like for you? Working with different directors. What did Bess what was that project like in First Position working with her? Well,
Bess got amazing musical instincts, and she knows her story, and nobody, especially in documentaries, documentary filmmakers really know their story. The good ones. And we had a great, it was great. It's, like everything, it was the first film I worked with Bess, so the biggest thing in any creative collaboration, especially with a composer and director, is that kind of trust. Because, think about it, you worked on this film for however many years, and now you're bringing somebody new in that you don't know, and you're saying, handle my film with grace, and I trust you with it, and it didn't take us long, it didn't take her long to trust me and for me to be able to open up, because, in any collaboration, if you really trust somebody, really great things can happen.
Well, also, too, she's coming to this project, it's her first film.
Exactly right.
Now, like Unraveled, when you worked with Mark, he's has extensive experience in film. Even though it was his first film as well, he's been involved in making films.
Mark Simon made a few previous documentaries. This is the second film I did with Mark. We did a film before called Nursery University, which was about following these Manhattan parents trying to get their kids into preschool. It was a really good film. You talk about slice of life craziness, and so I was very proud of that.
It seems like in some ways working on this new film, First Position, you're still dealing with this subject of young people.
Yes, absolutely. And that energy, the big thing on First Position was a couple things. I didn't want to write a old-fashioned classical score because the kids are dancing to ballet for the most part. There's so much of that in the film, because that's what they're dancing to. And, I'm not going to compete with Tchaikovsky. But yet these kids are young and they're cool and they're hip and they're, and you're seeing them in all of this. You're seeing, Aaron, the blonde kid who's amazing in the film. You're seeing him skateboard and do all this stuff that kids do, and he plays with a BB gun or whatever it is. And I wanted everyone to understand that these are really contemporary kids, and they have this love for ballet. So I didn't want the score to at all feel stodgy or old-fashioned. So I tried to, incorporate modern elements, but the big challenge there was I didn't want the score to kind of feel not part of the musical fabric of what was there already, which was the classical music. So I worked really carefully to try to,
What track should we listen to?
Actually, did you play one? If you didn't play one on here,
I played the opening one.
I didn't hear it, but you played it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Then let's play.
I played the first two tracks.
Okay, great. Let's play. This should be a good one. Play 13.
13.
Yeah, this is a very, very powerful scene. Michaela, through the film, battles a pretty serious injury,
and she's the girl from Sierra Leone.
Right.
What's interesting is because she's got what is it, vitiligo on her,
exactly,
and she's concerned about that. I mean, really, she's fought against all odds. And her parents are like salt of the earth. They go, we cannot see it. We cannot see it when you're up on stage. And really, seriously, when she's up there performing, all you see is this artist.
You're exactly right.
You know, she transcends all that.
You're exactly right.
And her challenge, and so she injures her leg,
her Achilles,
right before this competition, and this girl is strong. I mean, she's the equivalent to Venus Williams in tennis.
Exactly, that's a great parallel.
I mean, and in ballet, I mean, she is really, really strong, and so this is called testing her injury.
Yeah.
So what can we listen for in this clip?
This is just what I create as the film escalates, and this is towards the end of the film. Is they're all gearing up to this competition and everything they have to overcome. Every one of them has something to overcome and to prove. So there's just a real what I would like to call a kind of sensitive intensity in this cue, and people were very moved by this. They really get drawn into it, and they watch her. And at one point, she lifts one leg up and she just balances herself on one leg, and she's holding it for about 20 seconds. So,
and this is the original soundtrack recording to First Position.